And welcome everybody to this week's exciting episode.
I've got something in my pocket for you. I got something in my pocket for you. 50 points, that one.
Okay.
I'll tell you afterwards what
I
it
was
is.
going to say, I got an inkling on that one, but I'll confirm it after when the microphones are switched off.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's a specific thing. Yeah, it's good. It's a good one. There's 50 points for that one.
Okay, 50 points.
Yeah, which I haven't done my research, but I think just from memory, and you know my memory is fantastic, it's about 250 points I've given out now.
I'd say 260.
260,
I think
something around those points.
I think it's a 200, a 10 and a 50 so far, isn't it?
There we go. So that's 50 points. Comment on Spotify what that quote is from. And I tell you what, I'm even feeling bold today. The first person that I see can give me the specific episode and what that is from, season and episode, they get an extra 50 Josh points. So there's potential
for 100
points on this one, because it's a little bit niche, but it's good. So it kind of gives it away. It's a TV show. But,
yeah, well, I guess that already. Yeah.
But you know, it's a good one. It's a good one. So before we started, I went off on a little rant.
Yeah.
It's been brought to my attention that there are things in the world that we can't control. And I'm not going to go into the rant that I did, because I've calmed down now. But one thing I will say is I don't understand furries. I don't want to understand furries. I don't want anything to do with it. And I shall not mention them again. That is it.
Furries, for people who don't know, are people who like to dress up as animals and believe that they are animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
Yeah. The less said about it, the better. It's quite contradicting, because I'm all for living free, being who you are.
And animal rights.
And animal rights. You know, I was famously a vegetarian for 12 years. I understand it, you know. But there's just certain things in life that I just don't understand. And
furries are one of them.
Furries are one of them. Maybe I'm just getting too old for... maybe there's that gap, like when we were young, and we were like, oh, old people, you don't know what good music is.
Yeah.
I've officially crossed over. Like, officially.
Right.
I am at that age now where I hear young people talking about things, hear certain slang words, and I'm like, oh, the youth of today. And the minute that came out of my mouth...
I think you probably are at exactly that tipping point, because I reckon I was there about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Mid-30s, I have now reached that point where it just winds me up. So that is all I have to say about that. Now I've got a little announcement about today's podcast.
Right. Okay.
Getting close, guys. This is going to be wild. Now, as we all know, I am the conspiracy theorist guy on the pod. I think it's safe to say that I'm a big fan of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Every once in a millennia, there is a conspiracy theory that really grabs me by the teats and squeezes with dear life.
And we thought we'd already found it.
We thought we found it.
Yeah.
The Kurt Cobain one, you know, I went down the rabbit hole.
You did.
And...
again with Madeleine McCann.
Madeleine McCann, you know, there's certain conspiracy theories that when there's evidence pointing in a certain direction, it's hard for me to say... no, I can't see it the other way. You know. Now, what we're going to dive into today, when I say I went down the rabbit hole, I think this is the furthest I've ever travelled down a rabbit hole.
Oh.
I think the rabbit hole, I dropped the ladder and was struggling. You know when...
it turned into a well.
Yeah, I was stuck.
That then led to a subway.
I was stuck in the rabbit well. I had to dig out the other side of the planet to come back. I've just got off the flight back from China this morning because I was that far deep in the rabbit hole. I went through the earth.
That's some serious digging, man.
some serious digging, and
you only had a spoon.
I only had a spoon, and it was a baby spoon as well.
Yeah.
Let me tell you now, I spent so much time looking at this that I can't see it any other way. This is such an amazing theory. So we're going to get into it. Now, the podcast today is about the 1986 Challenger shuttle crew.
Space shuttle.
The space shuttle. So I'll go into the brief history of it and stuff, and then we're going to dive into the theory that is just nuts.
This is going to be interesting. You're going to be teaching me about a space program.
Yes. This is a space thing.
This is a first.
So for those that don't know, I didn't even know about this. So
about the Challenger at all?
Yeah, didn't even know about the Challenger. So
right. I do kind of remember it happening.
Yes, so does my mother. She was talking about it as well the other day when I mentioned it to her. And I showed this to her, the evidence that I had compiled together. And for someone who watched it live, even she, after I presented this to her, was like, that's actually quite interesting. I'm gonna look into that as well. So that, is saying something.
Yeah, it is.
But just for a little backstory before I go deep into this.
Right.
So this all started because my friend, I will censor his name, so he is a known conspiracy nut as well.
Yeah.
He was the one that got me into conspiracy theories when we were 17, 18 years old. So we're going back some years.
Okay.
He never left. So he is the kind of guy that if you went round his house, it wouldn't surprise me if he was in his basement with tinfoil on the windows, wearing a tinfoil hat, and the minute you walk in, he's telling you to close the curtains because they're watching you, kind of thing.
Cupboards full of tin food and toilet roll.
He is deep in the... He's lived in the rabbit hole for many years now, right?
Has he got a bug-out van?
He did actually used to have a van, to be fair. I think he lived in it for a little bit. I'm not too sure. But either way, he is king conspiracy, right?
Right.
He took me under his wing, and it got to the point where growing up, I was like, this is even too nuts for me. I believed a lot of it, but he was coming out with theories where I was like, there's no way that's true. I'm out. And I left. He stayed, right?
Right, okay.
I see and speak to this guy maybe 2-3 times a year. Never have I ever had a specific text from him years after, not even mentioning conspiracy theories, where he says, I know you do a podcast about this kind of thing. Look into the 1986 Challenger shuttle crew. And that was all it took for me to go, what is he talking about? He sent me a few keywords, and I thought, okay, I'll look into this. And then I got sucked down the rabbit hole again. So that's just the backstory. So
someone pulled the plug out and it sucked you right in.
Yeah,
then,
so I didn't even know about the shuttle crew. I didn't know about any of this. So.
No, I remember it happening. The way I remember it, is obviously, the Challenger was the shuttle on the side of they have the booster rockets, don't they?
Yep.
Challenger stuck to the side. There's quite a few people on it. Rockets fired. Liftoff happened. It went up, and I want to say probably maybe 1 or 2 minutes into the flight, kaboom!
Yes.
Kaboom!
That is pretty much it.
Falling from heaven. And even powerful telephoto lenses capturing the explosion as it happens, and all the debris falling out of the sky. Apparently, a bunch of dead astronauts. I don't remember particularly seeing any body parts.
Hey, I'll stop you there. So on January 28th, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The spacecraft disintegrated 46,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Cape Canaveral, Florida, at 4:39 p.m. UTC, which is American main
That's
time.
basically Greenwich Mean Time, UTC, isn't it?
Yeah. So the reason for the explosion was a failure in the seals and O-rings that were intended to prevent hot gases from leaking through the joints during the propellant burn of the rocket motor. That is the reason for it to fail.
Right.
Basically, to sum it up, there's obviously a lot more science and stuff involved, but
Yeah, I'm not going to get into rocket science. I kind of know what that means, but yeah, I'm not getting into explaining.
Just
how
to summarise it,
rocket engines work. Yeah,
O-rings is the main thing.
Yeah, it's a seal. Yeah,
and the actual failure was the successful. I haven't even written this part down, mate, because I remembered it. So the certain degrees, right?
Yeah.
So anything above 65 degrees, so where shuttles were taking off in like summer when it was hotter months, they didn't have a problem. But this decided to take off when it was colder, so the O-rings, they weren't expanding.
They weren't as pliable.
They weren't bending and moving the way they wanted. So anything below 65 degrees, they've always had problems with certain things on space shuttles. So it took nearly 2 months to recover the remains from the ocean floor, 18 miles away off the shore of Florida. The commingled cremated remains of the 7 Challenger astronauts were buried at Arlington National Cemetery. The crew, I should just go through the crew quick. So the main guy who was the commander of the crew was a guy called Richard Scobie, and everyone called him Dick, because Dick is short for Richard. I'm not being rude. I'm not censoring it. That was just the nickname back in the day.
Dick
for
Scobie,
Richard.
that was what he was known as.
So, Dick Scobie, and then the pilot, Michael J. Smith, and you've got Ronald McNair, who is the mission specialist. You've got Ellison Onizuka, who was the mission specialist as well. Judith Resnick, also another mission specialist. And fun fact, she was going to be the first Jewish American in space, I believe, is the fact.
She'd have only been like the second or maybe third
female.
woman in space.
Second female astronaut.
Second female.
And the first Jewish American. Gregory Jarvis, the payload specialist, and Sharon Krista McAuliffe, who was the payload specialist and teacher. So she was a random teacher.
Yes, she won a competition, didn't she?
She did. There was 11,000 applicants.
Yes.
And she was chosen. I think it's written down somewhere, but I think it was actually called the Teachers in Space program or something.
Okay,
So it was basically like a civilian in space.
It would have been the first civilian, non-trained astronaut to ever leave the planet.
Yeah, so there were 7 altogether. That is the crew. So engineers actually warned management the day before the accident about the seals and the O-rings specifically. Engineer Brian Russell wrote a frantic memo 2 days before launch and was basically ignored. There was another man called Alan McDonald who refused to approve the shuttle launch due to the information he had about the O-rings. But there was a company called Morton Thiokol which failed to act on the warnings. So they were the company kind of like working with NASA, or they were working for NASA.
Lockheed Martin and that.
And the guy that actually, I should say allegedly caused the issue and the deaths and the whole thing was a guy called Lawrence Malloy, who was the NASA project manager. And to sum it all up, there's obviously a big story about it. It went to court and family sued and this whole messy thing. But basically what it comes down to is there was pressure, immense pressure from Ronald Reagan, from the president at the time, who was also trying to send more things into space, more satellites and more projects to be like, look, we're America, we can do this.
I suppose it was like right at the very end of the Cold War, wasn't it, at that point? So
there was a lot of pressure from them, but there was also a lot of pressure from NASA. So the engineers were very outspoken. They tried everything they could to say they're going to die. Like, this is a complete accident waiting to happen. You can't do this. And one of the quotes, I believe it was Lawrence Malloy, allegedly, I will say that because I'm pretty sure it was him, but I'm not 100%. It said, paraphrasing, "Do you expect me to wait more months to send some astronauts into space?" So basically, he was getting impatient.
Yeah.
He wasn't listening to the engineers, so they got approval elsewhere. NASA, everyone just thought, right, let's just go for it. Let's just not listen to the engineers, and we're going to send it up to space anyway. So the aim of the mission, I hear you ask.
The aim. This would have been the.
Go on.
What
Yeah,
they call
let's see.
STS missions, was it?
Oh.
Or SLS missions?
Yeah.
STS missions? Something like that. This
There
was
was-
before the International Space Station.
So there was a few.
But
few
I know
projects.
there was shuttles that worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. Was it something to do with that?
No.
Repairing the lenses on it? No.
No, I don't know if you'll get it. There was like 3 main missions that they would do.
I don't know then.
So the aim of the mission was to deploy a communication satellite to study Halley's Comet, which was in the
Yes.
at the time,
Yeah.
and also retrieve a Spartan satellite. So they had 3 main missions that they were going to do. And like I said before, Krista McAuliffe, who her first name was Sharon, but she
went by Krista.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was part of the Teacher in Space project.
Yeah.
She told all of her school and surrounding schools, "I'm going to space," and they made it a big thing in the news.
Very massive.
Civilian going up to space. So there was actually reports of higher than usual media interest and watched live across the world, maybe because of the teacher. But just to put that in perspective, so the day of and the day before, there were roughly 535 reporters and journalists interested in the story, trying to interview the astronauts and NASA and get all information.
Oh, right, yeah, doing like the press conference and stuff.
Yeah, and then 3 days later, after the accident, there was 1,467 journalists all just trying to
get the story out.
And everything. So, I mean, obviously the accident doesn't help with that. That's naturally you're going to get more reporters trying to report on an accident.
Yeah, you would do,
It's almost 3 times the amount. So, a couple of notes here. There was no escape system in place for the crew. It was pretty much sealed in.
Because it had been a shuttle on the side of the rocket.
Yeah.
So normally, like, if you were talking like the Atlas V or something that like the moon landings were on, the crew were always all in the cabin right at the very top, and that does have what we call a launch escape system on it.
Okay.
So if something goes wrong, that cabin then separates from the rest of the craft. The craft can blow up or do whatever, and that cabin will be fine. It will parachutes will explode. I want to say the word explode. That's wrong for parachute, but parachutes will launch. They'll fall back to the floor, back to Earth safely. But that is on a rocket system. This would have been a shuttle mounted onto the side of a rocket, which for one thing makes it very unstable anyway, because trying to get that weight balance is hard. And you're basically in a giant cocoon. There isn't a launch escape system on it, as far as I'm aware.
No, there wasn't for this one. There was no escape system. And from the diagram I showed, there was an arrow pointing to where they were, and it was towards the top, but kind of like in the center top of in the middle. So also the velocity with the ocean surface was too violent to be survivable. So
The ocean surface.
yeah, so with the accident that happened, with there not being an escape system, the impact of the crew compartment at terminal velocity with the ocean surface was too violent for any of them to survive, which is what the media
Does that
was
mean
saying.
that the ocean was calm? Because obviously the flatter the water is, the more you're going to hit it like a brick, aren't you? If it's more turbulent, you've got more chance of...
Maybe
I
at
don't
the
know,
time. But they were basically saying there's no way that any of them could have survived.
But not from 45,000 feet, no.
No. So while recovering the remains, It's worth mentioning that there were several reports. So one first report stated that the bodies would have exploded into dust with the explosion.
Yeah, they would have
There'd
been,
be no remains. However, other reports contradict this and say body parts were found in the wreckage on the ocean floor. So there was very contradicting reports of what remains were left. But this is what I found very interesting, right? So remember this one. So out of the 7 astronauts, while recovering the remains, which may I remind everyone, it took them a couple of months, and they were 18 miles away recovering all the, not just the remains, but all the wreckage of the shuttle and everything, right? So while recovering all of the remains of the shuttle and the bodies and the dust and everything, the body of Gregory Jarvis was more intact. This is allegedly, according to reports, was more intact, and it floated away and was not located until several weeks after the other remains had been identified. So, and he's the only one. So out of all the 7 astronauts, Gregory Jarvis...
Which one was he?
So he was the payload specialist.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, so probably at the back.
Yeah, so he's the only one that allegedly the body was more intact, there was more remains of him, but somehow it floated away, and again, it wasn't located until several weeks after the others. If that makes sense. You can pause it if you want.
Yeah, I'll pause it.
Yeah, so I found that extremely weird that they'd identified all the other 6 out of the 7 and then found him again several weeks after his body had floated away from them.
Yeah.
But the rest apparently were a combination of dust and, hardly any remains, but he was more intact. And again, with the contradicting reports, some saying that they would have just vaporized, turned to dust, there would be no way of recognizing them or identifying them, anything like that. And then other reports saying, no, there was actual body parts, and it's very contradictory, very strange.
Yeah.
So this is where we start getting into the big theory and why I am covering this subject. Because at the moment, this is just a
history lesson.
This is just a history lesson. You're like, what's so weird about this, Josh? It's just a space shuttle and there was an accident and all the astronauts died. Well, this is where it starts getting interesting. So this is when the theory starts kicking in. I think some people are trying to pick up already what I'm putting down. So the human remains were transferred to US military officials to conduct autopsies, and they refused to issue the death certificates of the 7 crew members. So the US military refused to issue death certificates. So later on, NASA officials then released the death certificates.
Right.
Yeah, you're keeping with me so far?
Yeah.
To this day, allegedly, touch wood, the 7 astronauts are still not in the National Death Index.
Right.
Right. So even though NASA released the official death certificates, they're not in the National Death Index. Until 2010, only CNN had the only footage of the launch available. Other recordings have since emerged. So people that were there, I know the school in which the teacher came from, some of the other teachers were there to support and tried filming it and things like that.
Right.
But up until 2010, it was only the CNN footage.
I can only ever remember seeing one piece of footage from that launch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I don't know why that is. It's just something weird that I thought I would mention, that since 2010, that's when we're starting to see more footage from different angles and things of the accident.
Odd,
The commission, which also our friend Neil Armstrong, the astronaut, he was part of the commission that investigated the accident. They interviewed and investigated over 6,000 NASA employees, and they even found reports of all the engineers saying about the O-rings.
Oh, okay.
So they were all obviously trying to investigate foul play and things like that and work out what happened. And a lot of people were like, yes, the O-rings. We knew that before you know what I mean? Like, just go speak to every single engineer, and we'll all tell you the same thing. And it was you guys that didn't want to
Too cold
listen.
for them O-rings, mate.
So
yeah, we're going ahead with it anyway.
I'm not saying cover up or anything, but the fact that they went through the effort of interviewing and investigating 6,000 NASA employees is a bit strange to me, because after the first 100 people tell you that it was the O-rings, why are you investigating pretty much all
everyone
of
else?
You know, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But they were thorough.
Yeah, they were thorough. They didn't leave any stone unturned. Now, this is where it gets juicy. What if I told you, Pirate, that this whole thing is a massive conspiracy, and that at least 3, if not 6, of the 7 crew members didn't die in the accident at all, and they were alive today?
That would be pretty spectacular.
It would be. It would be spectacular. Because I'm going to go into the actual crux of the theory now.
I can't remember. 'Cause, obviously, I haven't watched the footage of Challenger in a long time. But quite often, when they videoed these things, when they film these things, you will see the astronauts going up that lift, up the tower alongside, and then going along the walkway and actually getting into whatever, the rocket or the shuttle, stuff like that. Is that footage? Is that it's not part of the released footage?
Not part of the released footage.
Okay.
No, there is footage of the 7 astronauts walking down a hallway with cameras and people cheering and everything. But there's no actual footage of them getting onto the shuttle and taking off. I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, the 7 astronauts, quick fire test. Do you remember all their names? I'm only joking. Now, the first one, Richard Scobie. Bearing in mind, the theory is that 6 out of the 7 are alive. I will just mention the 7th one, which I'll get out of the way now.
He drifted away in the current.
It was the guy that drifted away. Yeah. So Gregory Jarvis, to this day, he has never been found. There's not been a doppelganger. There's not been anyone that even looks like him. So there's 3 theories with Gregory Jarvis. One is he actually did die in an accident of some sort, whether it was a one-man mission in the shuttle or whether he just passed away or died somehow. Again, maybe a theory of a cover-up there. I'm not too sure. We can speculate.
Maybe he was the one flying it and that's why it blew up.
Maybe.
Because he weren't a pilot.
Yeah, could be.
He's a payload specialist.
But that is one theory, is he is actually passed away and he's not around today. The second theory is that he actually went into witness protection because he knew that this was like a big cover-up. And the theory as to why they're all alive today is that there was no one aboard the actual shuttle. Because
that makes sense, yeah.
The other side of the theory is that because of the O-rings and because of the immense pressure to send a rocket out, the engineers did manage to save the people and was like, no, don't go on there because you will die. So then they just sent the rocket anyways without anyone on board. So
so the president could see a rocket going up.
Yes, so that is part of the theory as to why these people are alive and they didn't actually pass away. But that
would definitely make sense why it blew up if there was no pilot at all.
Yeah. And the third theory, I can't quite remember, but it was something along the lines of Gregory Jarvis was just like rogue. There was just no getting hold of him or no one's seen him. Maybe he's had a quiet life or something. It's very similar to the witness protection. But but either way, Gregory Jarvis is the 1 out of the 7 that I won't be mentioning again because there's just nothing on him. He's just disappeared. But it is interesting that he was the one body that was more intact, floated away. The other 6 were
But
identified.
they never found it.
They did find it several weeks later.
Right.
But it was after all the others had already been identified. It was just, there's some weird circumstances revolving his remains. So it's just odd that he's the one person that had all of that and then there's no other information about him.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the main man himself, Dick, Richard Scobie.
Yeah.
Now, his birthday is May 19th, 1939. He was in his 40s when the rocket... I'm not going to go through the exact maths because I'm probably going to get it wrong. But he would be in his 70s, 80s, if he was still alive today. And there is actually a man with the exact same name called Richard Scobie, and people call him Dick. He is the chairman and CEO of a Chicago marketing and advertising company. And like I say, both men are called Richard Scobie.
Yeah.
And they look exactly the same, to the point where they have the exact same dimples. And that man shares the same birthday and would be the exact same age as Richard Scobie if he didn't pass away in the shuttle.
And he's still working today. He's still the CEO.
He's still alive, yeah. And when you see pictures, and I'm not even joking, you can Google this yourselves. You can do the research. If you Google on the images Richard Scobie, it will come up with a picture of the astronaut and a picture of this CEO. It is him.
Like,
it's him. It's just him plus 30 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The eye colour, the dimples, the shape of the face, everything about it, like the way his hair, it's exactly the same.
Fair enough.
Not only with Richard Scobie, tell me this isn't a coincidence. The company that he owns, the marketing company, is called Cows and Trees. The logo of this company is a cow with a rocket strapped to its back and smoke coming away from the rocket. And the smoke is in a swirling pattern, almost looks like the number 6. When you look at pictures and the image of the accident that happened of the shuttle, it is pretty identical to the wreckage and the smoke that was left behind of the actual shuttle. And you're telling me that this chairman has the same name and is the same age and looks exactly the same as the astronaut, and he happens to own this company that has... Either someone's playing a sick game with us.
That's pretty damning, yeah.
That's pretty damning evidence.
Actually, because the shuttle, as it went, it started tumbling, didn't it, in the air? And I remember the swirly smoke probably does look like a.
And those
sort of
swirls are used in that same logo for that Richard Scobie.
That's pretty sick, if it is.
That is right. Second guy, Michael J. Smith. Birthday, April 30th, 1945. He turns out to be now a retired university professor, and the guy looks exactly like him. So again, this is someone that allegedly died in an accident, and they found someone with the exact same name. That's the other thing, guys. This list of what I'm about to tell you of these people, these are all considered doppelgangers of the people that passed away, because people that are into conspiracy theories like me are saying, well, this is the exact same person. But other people who don't believe in conspiracy theories are saying, well, it's just a coincidence that these people have the exact same name and they look exactly the same. So I'm just telling you, these doppelgangers of these people, or these astronauts, what they're doing now and how they look the same. Does that make sense? So
but these doppelgangers happen to have the same birth dates as well.
The birthdays, the name, where they live. Is exactly
they
the
look
same.
exactly the same.
So, like, for example, like Michael J. Smith still lives in the same state as the other Michael J. Smith that passed away as an astronaut.
Right.
But it's not the same person. This is what we're told to believe. Yeah. So Michael J. Smith, April 30th, 1945, he is now a retired university professor, and he looks exactly the same as the astronaut, also making them the same age as what would have been. Same thing, blue eyes. But what's interesting about Michael J. Smith, 2 points. The first one, he has a very unique dent in the tip of his nose. A very unique dent. This Michael J. Smith has the exact same dent in his nose.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, again, not the same people, though, right? Now, there is a video of Michael J. Smith from a few years ago where people are conspiracy theorists have kind of cottoned onto this as well, and they think the same. They're trying to track down all the astronauts and these doppelgangers and asking them questions. They find Michael J. Smith, and he's a bit like President Biden. He's a little bit like, I don't know what you're talking about. we just got the same name and live in the same state, but that's not me. No, just a coincidence. We got the same blue-gray eyes and the same dent in our noses, but
that's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is.
As far as it goes,
just
people.
A big coincidence. And he's just kind of looking at the camera as if to be like, why are you guys here? I'm just an old man. You're like, you're not fooling anyone, Michael J. Smith. We're on to you and that dent in your nose.
You were an astronaut.
So that's that guy, right. This is where it gets a little bit more juicy. So, Ronald McNair, October 21st, 1950, he was one of the younger astronauts aboard.
Yeah.
He would, if he was alive today, he would be late 70s as well. Now, an explanation for this guy, for one of the doppelganger that looks exactly like him, the explanation for him is he has a twin brother called Carl McNair. This was Ronald McNair, the astronaut.
Right.
His twin brother is Carl McNair, who is an author of education and a consultant, and he also does inspirational speaking.
Okay.
Now, when other conspiracy theorists looked into this, they looked at footage of the memorials of all the astronauts.
Yeah.
There was no twin brother to be seen. There was no one that looked exactly like him.
Okay. Yeah.
Just other family members, but there was no brother. There's no mention of a brother. It's only until people have started to research this and dive into it that it's kind of like an explanation from whoever, like NASA or whatever. I don't know if NASA said it, but whoever allegedly was like, he's just got a twin brother called Carl. And it's kind of like a throwaway comment, like, stop digging, he's got a twin brother. But there's no reports of a twin.
Carl will have a birth certificate if it is true, won't it?
Exactly. Show us your birth certificate, then we'll believe you. Now, if that isn't coincidence enough, right? So we've got the Scobie, we've got the Smith, Ronald McNair, he's got a twin. Okay, fair enough. Allegedly. Even if he has got a twin, what are the chances of the other astronaut having a twin brother?
That would be very unlikely. Yeah, but more than one.
Highly
on the
unlikely,
same shuttle.
Right?
Yeah.
So Ellison Onizuka, June 24th, 1946, is his birthday. He apparently or allegedly also has a twin brother called Claude. And Ellison Onizuka would have been the first Japanese-American astronaut if it had been successful.
Right, okay. But he's got a brother called Claude.
He's got a brother called Claude Onizuka.
And no Westerner would be able to tell them apart anyway.
No. And do you want to know what Claude does for a living? So if someone was going to fly under the radar...
is he a commercial airline pilot?
No. He works and lives in Hawaii, and from all reports, he is in control of the liquor. So he's like, he does the laws for like liquor control and...
Oh, right, okay.
I mean? So
he's a bureaucrat.
He's just kind of flying low in Hawaii. But again, looks exactly the same.
Nice place to fly low in, eh?
Yeah, Hawaii, yes. We know a few billionaires building secret bases in Hawaii.
Maybe, allegedly.
Yes. But all I'm saying is, two of the 7 astronauts allegedly have twin brothers when their doppelgangers were found.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not them. That's all I'm saying. It's definitely not them. Now, Judith Resnick, April 5th, 1949. We've mentioned before she would have been the first Jewish American astronaut and the second female astronaut. Would it have been successful? Her doppelganger is a Yale professor of law. She also has the exact same name.
Right.
And looks exactly the same, to the point where she also has bad vision and has really thick glasses.
Okay.
And not much features, like with Judith, you just curly hair and glasses, but there's no dents in the nose or anything that stands out.
There's no distinguishing features.
She just looks exactly like the astronaut, but aged 30 years.
Okay.
Like exactly the same.
Fair enough.
Interestingly enough, though, my friend, there is also she's the second person, the last person who also got tracked down via video. And do you know what she did when confronted with the evidence of people asking her, "Are you the astronaut? Are you a live astronaut?"
So she's a professor of law.
She's a professor of law at Yale.
So I'm gonna guess she didn't admit to being an astronaut.
She denied and walked away. No comment. Walked away.
Just no comment.
Didn't confront. Just wasn't interested. It was just no.
That's a very lawyer thing to do, isn't it?
Load of rubbish. But it's interesting though, because I feel like if you're a lawyer and you know the law, and you are not this woman, surely you could give away a bit more and be like, no, like.
I can
I don't
neither
know.
confirm or deny your request.
There'd just be I just feel like there'd be something a little bit more because they know the law. I feel like just saying no comment and then just walking away. It's a bit like,
I don't know. That's probably the
okay.
easiest way out, though, isn't it?
It is, but it just seems a little fishy to me.
Okay.
Because her, Scobie, and Michael J. Smith were the 3 out of the 7 astronauts that I personally looked at the pictures side by side, and I thought that is like 99.6% identical. They were the 3 that I was. And when you see the pictures of Judith Resnick, you're like, that is. If that's not her,
I will be checking
I'll be
out
surprised.
these pictures
It's
afterwards.
very interesting. Now we're going to get on to the last one, the teacher. So Sharon Christa McAuliffe, September 2nd, 1948. There is a woman called Sharon McAuliffe.
Right.
So she's dropped the Christa part.
Right.
This woman also looks exactly the same as the teacher, but a little bit older. Her hair has a cow's lick in it. Cow's licks are quite rare.
Yeah, she's got a very 80s style perm though at the time, hasn't she?
But this woman, the older woman, she's also a university professor in Syracuse.
Right.
So, teacher, university professor.
Not a lot different, is it?
But the cow's lick and the way her hair was parted, when they put the 2 images on top of each other, the faces were exactly identical and the cow's lick was in the same place, but she was just literally older. But that one to me, Sharon McAuliffe, looks very, very similar, but out of all of the astronauts, if they were still alive or allegedly are alive, she's the one that's had the hard paper round.
Okay.
So you can look at her and be like, okay, there is a few slight differences, but there are a few certain things.
But you expect that with many
age.
people with age, with many people. I mean,
Yeah.
she wasn't exactly an old lady when it happened, was she? She was quite young in her career and that, and you know yourself, when you look at like a picture of your granddad from when he was young, when he was like 21 years old, it looks completely different to what he does when he's 80, you know? So you've got to expect some of that at least.
You do have to expect that. But the Scobie, Judith and Michael J. Smith still look very much identical to the old astronauts. But there's just a couple of weird little tidbits of information with Sharon McAuliffe. So her cousin is Terry McAuliffe, who works...
Oh, no, well. Yeah.
who works with... he has something to do with he's like a politician or involved in politics, but he's also been very outspoken about NASA.
Right.
So there's just a little connection there of what are the chances of this woman who has the exact same name as the teacher who died on the way to space has a connection to NASA. And when the live camera were focusing on the crowd and all the parents and friends of like the actual launch.
Oh, at the launch,
her parents were seen smiling and laughing on live television. So
well, after the Challenger had just blown up.
After the Challenger had blown up. So the people in the crowd, there has been
everybody else is like, oh my God, what has just happened? And they're just like, hey,
and
nice
they're talking. They're not even looking up. They're talking to each other.
Oh, right.
Kind of laughing and joking amongst each other. So, I mean, that could be several reasons. I thought I'd mention it because it is one of the things that the conspiracy theorists mention. But there could be a couple of things of that could have been edited or whatever. I mean, they say live TV.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I get what you're saying there and that. Like,
I'm not saying it.
No, they weren't reacting like shocked parents, literally just seeing their daughter get blown apart in halfway to space. But even if the astronauts or somebody had decided not to put the astronauts on there, would her parents in the crowd be privy to that information? Why would they still be sat there watching a rocket launch?
Well, that's what people are saying. Is they're saying that the reason that they are smiling and laughing is because they knew that their daughter was fine and safe, and they were being paid, and the other people in the crowd acting shocked were paid actors.
Well, yeah,
So that is
a theory.
just part of the theory. So here we go. That is the main crux of it. So we're going to get to kind of the fallout of it, I guess, the more modern times of it now.
Yeah.
So everyone knows the theory. We're there. We're up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is a video of a man speaking in public about the incident. So I showed you this video. Do you remember the guy? He brings it to the commission, and I found.
Was it in some sort of court or something?
Yeah. So it says here he wants to open the case up because he believes that they are all alive, and I think there's some sort of connection or relative to the case where he's like, there's something not right about this. I want to open this up, and he's bringing it forward to. So the place that we watched the video of this man, it's at the Kennedy Center.
Kennedy Space Center.
Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah.
That's where he's giving the presentation to.
Right.
And because the shuttle.
Oh, that's why they were trying to shut him down then all the time. Then, because I thought it was just like in an open courthouse or something like that. But no, if it was the Kennedy Space Center, then that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Now. Yes.
So the video of him trying to talk about it, he's got a full presentation and everything.
Yeah.
And he talks about, and he says in the video, like, you're trying to silence me. Like, this is my First Amendment of like, you're taking away my free speech.
Yeah, yeah.
And they literally silence him within minutes of his presentation, just suggesting that these astronauts are alive and that we've all been lied to and NASA are covering it up. And he actually gets to the point where
because NASA don't lie about anything.
No, NASA don't lie about anything. And he actually gets kicked out of there. He's in, and then what's even crazier is they're not judges, but the people behind the panel,
the magistrates or something like that.
All of these people that are now like they've kind of noticed what this guy is talking about. They're like, hang on a second, like what's he talking about? Anyone that's piping up, they're like, oh, if you want to make noise, you can go with him. And he starts kicking out people with the guy just for kind of standing
just for
up,
taking an interest.
What's he talking about? And they're like, oh, you can leave with him, you can go. So that's how much he silences it. Now, statistically, there was a bunch of mathematicians and AI was involved, and they worked out the statistical probability of one doppelganger having the exact same name, being the same age, and looking identical to one of the astronauts. And do you know what that statistic was? Just for one of them. For one.
One doppelganger.
For one doppelganger.
Living in the same state, having the same birthday, same name, doing a similar job.
Yep.
It'd be astronomical.
1 in 3 billion chance.
Yeah.
1 in 3 billion, right? And to the point where when they did some thorough research on this, and they could only find one person in the last 120 years as an example of someone who had the same name, looked the same, lived in the same place with the same birthday.
It was the guy that survived the boat.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. But one person in 120 years. That's how, right? So then they asked AI and mathematicians the same question, but for 3 people in a group of 7. And do you know what it said? Bearing in mind, there's 6
We'll be up into the
doppelgangers.
trillions by now, surely. 1 in trillions.
They came back statistically impossible.
Oh, right.
Statistically
fair play.
impossible. Chance is effectively 0. That's for 3 out of the 7
And we've got
people,
6.
And we've got 6 out of the 7. So you're telling me that they all passed away? No, it's not them. It's not them. It's not them. So some people have said, but why? Why would they do this? Why would NASA cover this up? It doesn't make sense. There has to be a why. There is a couple of theories as to why they did this.
Okay.
One I've already briefly touched up on, which is that the engineers mentioned the O-rings with the pressure. They did.
Yeah, they just wanted a launch.
They wanted a launch.
Yeah.
They sent it up there. So they obviously the internet wasn't a thing in 1980s. So
Yeah, I guess,
they probably didn't think this far ahead and think that people would be interested or whatever. Like, I'll just keep the same name and go work here. No one's going to know. No one's going to find out. But obviously, with the internet.
Yeah.
So that is one theory, that it's just an empty shuttle and they've gone up. The other one is that it was actually a elaborate, darker strategy to cause mass trauma to America to, in a way, it doesn't make sense to me, but they say that creating mass trauma for Americans would have eventually created more engineers and astronauts and more people wanting to work for NASA by seeing the trauma. And an example of this that people refer to is 9/11. So when 9/11 happened, you had this massive influx of people joining the army,
the firefighters,
and risk their lives, and join firefighters and paramedics and all of this stuff. So I kind of get what the theory is, but I don't necessarily know. Personally, if I saw a space shuttle blow up, my first thought isn't, I want to be an astronaut.
No.
But that is just the two theories of the space shuttle was empty or it was mass hysteria kind of trauma.
And
that is all I've got on the 1986 Challenger shuttle.
It's very good. Drop the pen as well.
That's the one.
Very deliberate.
Nope. That's the one.
Well done. Very good.
That's all I've got. There's a few things here and there that I could have added and gone into detail, like the actual sciencey stuff of the O-rings and stuff, but it would have been too much writing and it's not essential.
Honestly,
to it.
like with your conclusion at the end there, well, you mentioned it halfway through as well, about them just wanting to make a launch to satisfy those above.
When you've got the White House telling you.
Exactly.
Allegedly.
But if they knew about the O-rings, they knew it wasn't safe, didn't want to put people actually in danger, then, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But why cover it up for all these years? That's the only...
Don't know.
The only thing. I mean,
Don't know.
The astronauts, like even that school teacher one, would then have had to like sign NDAs. You know, sorry, but technically you're dead, but you're not dead because we're not giving you a different identity. You can keep your identity. You just got to get a new job and don't tell anybody that you didn't die in a space shuttle accident.
A lot of the families, when I mentioned they sued, they tried to sue NASA or whatever.
Yeah.
I won't go into the full details of it, but there wasn't a great massive payout that people think that might come with that, which is also very interesting. Some of the family, I'm pretty sure it was like 3 out of the 7 astronaut families, didn't get any money whatsoever.
I guess being an astronaut is technically a high-risk job. You do that. You don't... Yeah, if something goes wrong, you're not necessarily expecting a payout, are you?
Yeah.
So,
but I just thought I'd mention it.
I think there's
a few odd things in
good
there.
theory, good solid case.
Maybe it's why it was covered up as well, is maybe... I don't know, just my theory, just thinking about it and researching it, is they would have been paid to do all of that. And there's a lot involved in that space shuttle thing. How do we know behind the scenes? They're like, it is kind of like witness protection, where it's like, right, we need to get you out of here, new job, everything, whatever it is, and then take the money and run kind of thing, and then you've got to lay low because everyone's going to think you're dead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and I guess the whole thing would have been sort of a last-minute decision, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, you're not going up into space. Actually, you're going to have a new life.
Yeah, because the engineers worked it out. Like, it was the day before. It was like 2 days before.
Yeah.
The engineers. They were the unsung heroes of this whole story because what's really sad about the bit when I done more research into it is there's a specific engineer guy, and apologies, I have forgotten his name. Poor old boy. He took that burden for his whole life, thinking he'd killed 7 astronauts because he was that was warning them about the O-rings and stuff. And obviously, if he, conspiracy theory or not, if he's not given any of that information, do you know what I mean? Like the conspiracy side of it.
Yeah, he's going to think
he's going to think they're all dead. He spent 30, 40 years, or whatever, thinking I've killed 7 astronauts. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
Poor
the
guy.
engineers did everything they could to stop that shuttle from going up. Whether people were in it or not, they tried their hardest. So, there we go.
Well, I like it. I think it's good. It's a good case. I've actually never heard it before. Well, I've heard of the Challenger, and I remember the explosion and that. But yeah, I never actually considered that the astronauts weren't on there. I like it. I'm going to give it 9.2.
9.2. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I absolutely loved researching this, and I am also going to say, to cover my back, if this is one massive, elaborate, really dark hoax that someone has put out there on the internet, bravo and well done.
Yeah, well done.
Because you fooled me and you fooled my conspiracy theorist friend to the point where he messaged me about it. So you've done a very good job if this is a hoax, but after digging into it, I'm leaning more towards that they could very well be alive, mate. So I'm going to give it a 9.4.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
I think that's
it's a 9.3 average. So it's very respectable.
Yeah.
Very good.
But I did enjoy researching it. And you know me, I love my conspiracy theories.
You
so
do.
It's been a while since I've gone proper deep into a conspiracy theory. So I gave it my all, this one.
You did well.
I even,
Really
not
well.
a single screenshot, all old school.
Actually written down in a book.
Notebook,
yeah.
baby.
Nice.
Notebook.
Very good. Very good. And you can purchase your own research book and notebook on my Mercher page.
Yep.
Which you can get through our link tree, which you'll find in the description.
Yeah.
And wow, you waffled on for quite a long time today.
Waffled? Stating facts, my friend. Dropping knowledge bombs. That's what I've been doing for the last hour.
Definitely dropping some bombs.
I might eat some waffles for dinner, though. Who knows?
Who knows? Waffles are good.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
let's go and have waffles.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, until next week, I've been Pirate.
I'm Josh.
This has been Paranormality UK. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta, 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 ta-ta.
Waffles.
That was the sound of a satellite going away.
Going
ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. You like that, didn't you?
Brilliant.
Waffle time.